It's time to get lost in the Midcard. This Believe in Pro Wrestling property is brought to you by Bet Online, a continued #1 source for all your sports betting needs. Join now and receive your 100% welcome bonus on your first deposit when you use our promo code BELIEVE. Now, here are Jeremy Bennett and Matt Black on the Believe Podcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast that is here to applaud you if you watched every single premium live event and pay-per-view this weekend. It is Lost the Midcard. Welcome, your official Monday Night Raw kickoff show, basically. We'll lead you up to Monday Night Raw here at the top of the hour. Not much to talk about yet for Raw or AEW Dynamite. Not much has been released for either show coming up this week. All we know tonight, so far, is a fatal four-way for the women, for the tag teams, and to determine the new tag team champions. Got Shotzi and Raquel, Ronda and Shayna, Bayley and Io, Chelsea and Sonya Deville. So that's going to be all we know so far from Monday Night Raw, and we do not know anything about Dynamite yet upcoming this week either. But if we get any updates here as the show goes on, we will definitely let you know. But I hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend. Long weekend. Back to work tomorrow for me. And lots of, as we mentioned last week, as we did our preview show, lots of pay-per-views happening this weekend, kicking off on Friday with Under Siege by Impact, and then finishing up with the AEW pay-per-view on Sunday last night. Double or Nothing. I am your host, Jeremy Bennett. You can find me on the Twitter at JBHuskers. Matt is off this week. He is not feeling well, so he'll hopefully be back next week and maybe get his thoughts on some things, some of the major things from this weekend. But I'm riding solo here today. MK in the chat. There was a lot of wrestling this weekend. I mean, a lot of wrestling. Did I mention there was a lot of wrestling? Yes. Hey, hold on a second. I dropped something. All right, I'm magically back. A lot of wrestling this weekend, and I had a lot of stuff going on too. So it's like for me to try to catch up on everything was a task. But it was a fun weekend, and some good shows. I don't think any of the four shows were remarkably great. They were good, but there was just maybe something keeping them from being like an all-time great show. There wasn't really. None of the shows were particularly great. They were all pretty good. I was a little disappointed in AEW Double or Nothing, at least in the first half. Then things picked up there. NXT Battleground on at the same time, going head to head with AEW. I actually watched both at the same time. I thought it was a good show. Lots of good matches in there. Not much of a surprise for any of the outcomes, really, or any surprises at all that I could find at NXT Battleground, but some solid matches. Under Siege, I did not watch Under Siege. I was gone Friday. I was gone most of Saturday, so I had to kind of catch up on Night of Champions. I got home in time to see Asuka win the title and watch the rest of it from there. The end of that show, though, was pretty insane. Marcho in the chat. Feel better, Matt? Yes, Matt under the weather this week. So just myself in the seat here for Lost in the Midcard. What's up, Craig? Good to have you here. Yes, Dynamite does have Jericho and Saraya versus Cole and Britt Baker, DMD. They haven't put together the official graphic for Wednesday yet or not, though. That's the thing. Frantic World, what's up? Good to see you here. And a lot of women's titles changed hands this weekend, 4 of them. One that did not change hands was actually on the first pay-per-view, which is interesting enough. For if you haven't done so already, make sure you go to the Believe, that is BLEAV, Believe in Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you know every time we go live. Myself and Matt every Monday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central with Lost in the Midcard. And, of course, SP3 and Rick with their weekly show as well. And make sure you share this with all your friends. Let's get a lot of people in the chats, have a lot of fun like we always do every week. And make sure you hit the thumbs up. Get the old Orange Casty thumbs up button there. Without further ado, let's get started with what happened on Friday. And of course, at any point throughout the show, as we talk about these shows, give us your thoughts, any questions, your opinions, and all sorts of things. We're going to kick off with Friday night. Impact Under Siege took place. Pretty decent card. We got the pay-per-view return of Nick Aldis. We got we got a couple of return. We got a return to the company and a debut in the company. A couple of returns actually. The first match was, of course, on the main card, Nick Aldis taking on Kenny King. No surprise, Nick Aldis probably going to get pushed towards the top of the ladder, maybe be a challenger for Macklin in the future. But Nick Aldis getting the win to kick things off. Handicap match. The design was taken on Sami Callihan and Rich Swann, and the surprise was none other than Jake Christ from the OVE, Ohio versus Everyone stable. Jake Christ joining Sami Callihan and Rich Swann to take on and defeat the design. So that was a pretty cool return. Trinity made her Impact pay-per-view debut against Giselle Shaw. Very quick match, about a 10-minute match there. And then Bullet Club took on Subculture, which is a return to the company for Mark Andrews. He was with the company for some time then. And the debut of Flash Morgan Webster, who, of course, was with NXT UK. So good to see that tag team, that those two guys form a tag team from the NXT UK days and land back in Impact Wrestling. Bullet Club did retain there, though. Trey Miguel against Chris Sabin. This was kind of one of those up in the airs that maybe Chris Sabin will become a Next Division champion again. But Trey Miguel did hold on. Your new number one contender is going to be Alex Shelley of the Motor City Machine Guns. So the Machine Guns getting some single shine here recently. Shelley defeated Eddie Edwards, Moose, Frankie Kazarian, Gresham, and Mora to win that match. Knockouts Championship was on the line with Jordan Grace and Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo retaining. Jordan Grace has announced that she's going to be stepping away from Impact Wrestling for a few months. Probably going to take a few indie dates and then reassess if she's going to re-sign with Impact or what her future may hold from there on out. It's going to be interesting few months to see just where Jordan Grace pops up. Will she maybe pop up at GCW, maybe take on their champion, Masha Slamovich? Will she show up in AEW? Of course, she showed up in AEW in the early days and participated in one of the first Casino Battle Royals, if not the very first. Might have been the first one there, possibly. And then the main event, Steve Macklin, PCO. Very violent, very evil. As Frantic World says, it was a crazy main event. And then afterwards, Steve Macklin and Bully Ray decided to put Scott D'Amore through a flaming table. And as MK says, does Scott D'Amore, right on cue, does he really need to go through a flaming table? I don't know. But that means that Bully Ray is back at Impact Wrestling and still does not get along with Scott D'Amore. So apparently Dirty Dango probably still going to, or Santino. Well, Santino was out too. So I guess Dirty Dango still running things for the company in the time being. I'm not sure. Overall, as I rewatched it here, or got a chance to watch this back on delay, overall, that was a solid show. Solid showing. Going to be interesting to see where this goes with Bully Ray. Nick Aldis, obviously, probably in line to face Macklin at some point soon. After Alex Shelley gets his shot, I don't see Alex Shelley taking the title from Macklin, but it'll be kind of interesting to see how that goes. I think Alex Shelley and Macklin will put on a good match, though. We went from Under Siege Friday night to Saturday afternoon, WWE Night of Champions, and we kicked right off with, I don't know, you have to maybe tell me in the chat what your thoughts are. This could have, this might have been the best match of the weekend, possibly. Kicking off Night of Champions, Seth freaking Rollins taking on AJ Styles. There's definitely a couple of AEW matches that are you can put up there for match of the weekend. Ilya Dragunov and Dijak, which we'll get to for NXT in a little bit. That was a hell of a match. But I think probably Night of Champions, I would say, was bookended by two great matches and some good stuff in between as well. MK in the chat, Aldis versus Macklin, Bound for Glory. That makes complete sense. Bound for Glory is their biggest pay-per-view on the card. So totally believe that they're going to probably go that way. Ricky Castillo, what's up, man? Haven't seen me since Top Story. Thanks for joining us, man. I'm here every Monday, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, along with Matt Black for Lost to the Midcard. So hopefully we see you here every Monday, man. The World Heavyweight Championship, though, man, that was a hell of a match. And as MK says in the chat, it shouldn't have kicked off the show, but you get why the Bloodline main evented. Yeah, Roman Reigns, of course, is going to main event no matter where he's what's going on in the card. So that was not really a surprise that the World Heavyweight Championship was kicking off the show, but to nobody's surprise, Seth Rollins has had a hell of a time. AJ Styles just now getting back from injury, maybe a month or two now. It's been back from injury. So this has been Rollins' time. He hasn't been a world champion for 4 years. He's been basically, arguably, the hottest item in WWE for both Raw and SmackDown. So I think it was clear to put that title, make that first title be put on him. Of course, obviously, as I mentioned last week, he had a shot to be the first ever Universal Champion, but lost out to Finn Balor. So now he has a shot to be the first ever WWE World Heavyweight Champion and came through. And this match went over 20 minutes. Tremendous. It shows you what both men can do. Both men are definitely some of the top men of this generation in terms of pro wrestling. And they kicked off a hell of a show. And Triple H coming out to present the belt to Seth Rollins. And of course we got the famous backstage, the old point picture from Triple H as well. That'll be one of the things to look forward to here on Monday Night Raw. Probably kicking off Monday Night Raw at the top of the hour will possibly be Seth freaking Rollins addressing the WWE Universe about his World Championship win. Once we get some information, if we get the information from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, we'll pass along some of the insights of what may be going on tonight. Again, only thing so far announced is a fatal four-way for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan had to relinquish them, but Raquel found an old tag partner in Shotzi, and so they're going to take on Ronda and Shayna Baszler, Io Sky and Bayley, and the complaint department, Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. I think the obvious answer is probably Ronda and Shayna winning this, though I would absolutely love to see Sonya and Chelsea win. We'll see what happens, but I think the obvious choice is going to go to Shayna and Ronda Rousey. So, but we'll see. Next up was Trish Stratus, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch looking very Uma Thurman-like from Kill Bill. Dug it. And Trish's outfit says, "Thank you, Trish," on the back. Kind of funny as well. Pretty good match between these ladies. Went about 15 minutes. The big surprise here, I guess I should tell you that they're pushing her to the moon, pairing Zoe Stark with Trish Stratus. And, of course, Zoe Stark hit her Z360, a tremendous-looking finisher. I absolutely love that finisher. Hit that on Becky Lynch and gave Trish the win after a nearly 15-minute match. Let me know in the chat what you thought about Zoe Stark's involvement with Trish Stratus. Obviously, I would assume that this may be a rematch come SummerSlam time. We got, of course, Money in the Bank coming up. Maybe Becky Lynch, Zoe Stark at Money in the Bank, and then maybe the rematch with Trish and Becky at SummerSlam, something like that, possibly. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here. I don't think it's obviously this feud ain't over, especially when you got the interference of Zoe Stark. But I've always been a fan of Zoe's in NXT. She's got great skills in the ring. She's starting to get that personality in as ever since she turned heel. She started really getting some personality in there. And I think the pairing with Trish is going to work. It's going to be interesting to see how they work together, promos and everything like that going forward, and where the story goes. But yeah, I fully expect a match with Zoe and Becky at Money in the Bank, possibly. Then we got the Intercontinental title match between Gunther and Mustafa Ali. This was not the squash that some people thought would happen. That squash would come later in a different match. But I liked this match watching it back, though I didn't see it live. I was excited to see Ali get some moves in and a couple of near falls. It did not really go that long, which it shouldn't have. I mean, 8.5 minutes, I think, was perfectly fine for Gunther to take out Ali. But Ali did get some offense and did look good. So it'll be it was a good showing for Ali in a major pay-per-view in Saudi, and hopefully he can continue that momentum, because obviously he's a great worker, great personality. WWE's not been able to utilize him, so it's kind of frustrating to see that the WWE just cannot figure out what to do with Mustafa Ali. But he did look good here at Night of Champions. MK in the chat: Stark and Trish versus Becky and mystery opponent at Money in the Bank, and then blow off Trish and Becky at SummerSlam. Maybe Lita comes back. We haven't seen Lita since Trish took her out, and then Trish filled her shoes. And then that's the night that she turned on Becky Lynch. So we haven't seen Lita since. That could be a possibility, or maybe I don't know. It's up in the air there, but that might be interesting to see too. Or like I said, I could see a Zoe Stark and Becky one-on-one at Money in the Bank with Trish in Zoe's corner too. Next up was the Raw Women's Championship between Bianca Belair and Asuka. And this was a hell of a match. As expected, they went about 15 minutes. Asuka with the mist again, kind of a unique way of doing it with the mist there. The mist that was in Asuka's hands when the referee wasn't looking, and she put it into Bianca's eyes. Belair being stunned, and Asuka hitting just a devastating kick to Bianca's head to get the win at 15 minutes. And very good match with them ladies. And it's good to see Asuka hold gold again. That's much like with Seth Rollins. It's been a long time coming to see Asuka hold gold again. We were kind of teased several months ago when she kind of returned with face paint similar to her old Kana persona, that we may get the old persona of Asuka again in WWE. We've kind of gotten that a little bit. Now that she's champion, it's going to be interesting to see where she goes from here, how much more ruthless she could be as a heel. If Io Sky turns on Bayley, man, imagine an Io Sky and Asuka match for the Raw Women's Championship. That would be truly great. If she, it's it depends. There's obviously the brand split though, but it's going to be interesting to see what they kind of have for Asuka's challengers going forward. And now it's a little wide open. Bianca had that title for a long time. Now you can have a whole new slew of babyface challengers to see what happens, because Bianca had a great title reign, went 416 days. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here, especially Bianca. I wonder if Bianca could, you never know. I'd assume Bianca and Rhea is probably the plan for WrestleMania 40, but we'll have to see where it goes from there. Next up was the squash match of the night with SmackDown Women's Champion Rhea Ripley taking on Natalya. Dominic Mysterio making the distraction, which led to a 1 minute and 13-second match as Rhea Ripley hit the Riptide after throwing Natalya into steel steps and getting the pinfall. A very quick match, unfortunately, for Natalya on her birthday of all days, too. So it was kind of sad to see. Sad to see Natalya not put up a bigger fight than that. Obviously, you can tell they want to really push Rhea as an unbeatable monster. They are sort of doing that, but be interesting to see where they have a challenge for her title next, too. Probably some answers that we may get on SmackDown here later on this week. Once again, thank you all for joining Lost the Midcard. Got any thoughts on Night of Champions? Let me know in the chat. Let me know what your favorite matches were through the weekend. Any questions you have going forward, I'll try my best to answer them. And let me know what you thought of the whole weekend. As we go into Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes. Of course, Cody Rhodes sporting a titanium cast, which he used a few times. Pretty exciting match, I thought. I thought Cody and Brock had a very a dramatic match, obviously, focusing on that arm. And a lot of it being Cody in the Kimura and trying to get out of it. And there were many times, I think Cody hit 3 total crossroads, not in a row. I hit a couple in a row. And then I think Brock kicked out at 2 or something like that. And then he hit another one, but then Brock, I think, got up and hit him at F5. But then put on the Kimura once more, and Cody didn't even tap out. He passed out. I kind of expected this to go down this way. I expected there would be a rubber match sometime. Maybe Cody wins Money in the Bank. Brock challenges Cody for the briefcase at SummerSlam, possibly. That could be a possibility. Matt, who's not here, he's out sick tonight, but he said you could have Cody and Brock battle for the last spot, rubber matches for the last spot in Money in the Bank. And have Cody win that, and then have Cody win Money in the Bank. Then maybe he could call a shot ahead of time and beat Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. I like that just because it condenses the timeline, because as we know, by the end of this night, the bloodline is completely a mess. And I don't expect Roman Reigns to hold that title past SummerSlam at this point now, with presumably Cody Rhodes winning Money in the Bank. That would be my guess, is that Cody Rhodes would win Money in the Bank and be the one finally to finish the story, though that story should have been finished at WrestleMania. As long as we eventually get there, that'll be good. Speaking of Roman Reigns, this Friday, they will celebrate his 1,000 days as champion. Main event time between Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, and Solo Sikoa. If you didn't get a chance to watch Night of Champions, that entrance from Sami Zayn was tremendous. It was the response from that Saudi crowd to finally see Sami Zayn in person now that Syria and Saudi Arabia are on the same page now, and to see the fans just welcome him. And I think he came out in some traditional garb, and then spoke in Arabic. He introduced Kevin Owens and himself in Arabic, which popped the crowd. I thought that was just a tremendous moment. And just all these moments that you get from Sami Zayn with the bloodline and then with Kevin Owens now, it's like maybe Cody isn't the guy to finish the story and knock off Roman Reigns. Maybe Sami Zayn is the guy. I'm all for Sami Zayn dethroning. I'm almost for Sami Zayn dethroning Roman Reigns more than Cody doing it, which sounds a little crazy, but I kind of would rather have Sami be the guy to end that long 1,000+ day reign. to be honest with you. The match itself was tremendous, probably second best of the night. I would call the World Heavyweight title match between AJ Styles and Seth Rollins the best one of the night. So you bookend great matches. Obviously outside of the squash match, every match at Night of Champions was good. But the big story of the main event was the Usos interfering to help KO and Sammy once yet another ref bump in a Roman Reigns match. And I thought it was funny. The ref took a spear from Roman Reigns, and Roman immediately pushes the ref, acting like he was going to get up from that. That was kind of funny. With the ref down, the Usos come out. The Usos accidentally super kick Solo. So Roman is down and does not see what they do until they see them super kick Solo. So then he gets mad at the Usos, and that's when the shit hits the fan. And Jimmy finally loses it and super kicks Roman to a thunderous pop. And then Jay's trying to talk some sense in him to leave the ring, and Jimmy's like, I don't know, popped him again. Oh man, what a damn moment that was. I thought that was great. Just yet another wrinkle in the tremendous bloodline story that's been told for 3+ years now. And again, that's going to make Friday almost must see to see what happens with the bloodline and where we go from there. It's going to be fun. I don't expect Roman to wrestle at Money in the Bank, but you never know. Roman and Jimmy for the title will be something kind of different and interesting. Roman and Jay had a good match at the very start of the bloodline story. So why not have a Jimmy and Roman match? I would not be against that. But that knocking out of Roman Reigns led to Zayn hitting Solo with a Helluva Kick, and after Owens hit him with a stunner, 1, 2, 3, the match went about 26 minutes. Again, a great main event, great Night of Champions, overall great pay-per-view. You can't really count the squash match as good or bad. It was a squash match, but every other match that was legitimate there had it was very good, I thought, in my opinion. So I thought it was a good pay-per-view. Now we move on to last night, and of course, oddly enough, NXT decides to go head-to-head with AEW. There have been times where they go in the afternoon, but yet they decided to go head-to-head, knowing well that the Double or Nothing was right there. And but hell, I saw a lot of people actually think that Battleground was better than Double or Nothing. I don't think so. But Battleground was a very good show. And Double or Nothing really sputtered the first half of that show, in my opinion. But we'll get to Double or Nothing in a little bit. NXT Battleground started off with a great triple threat match. There were some sweet moves, some sweet spots with all three guys involved, Wesley, Joe Gacy, and Tyler Bate. They did some great moves involving all three. My favorite one was, I think, when Joe Gacy powerbombed Wesley into Tyler Bate. I thought that was a pretty cool spot. These guys went about 12 minutes with Wes hitting the cardiac kick and on Joe Gacy to get the win. So Wesley keeps the title. I thought it might have went to Tyler Bate. We may get a Tyler Bate one-on-one match. I don't know. It depends on if this beef between these two has been squashed now with this match or not. But and maybe that is the way to go next is Wesley and Tyler Bate. Of course, we'll get a lot more direction on where they go here on NXT this Tuesday. Vic Joseph did say after the match that this was the Wesley has had the most title defenses of any North American champion ever as he's continuing that great run as champion. Heritage Cup up next. Noam Dar, Dragon Lee. Was a decent match. Kind of weird that it took two women to help Noam Dar get the win, as Jakara and Jackson and Lash Legend helped out Noam Dar. And then they were joined after the match by Romensa. Interesting group there of those four. It almost gives me Rosebud type of vibes with Adam Rose. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Interesting group there. I'm gonna see if I like. I don't know if I haven't decided if I like them or hate them yet. So we'll see how they go here. But Noam Dar does retain the Heritage Cup. Match of the night after that by far was the last man standing, Ilya Dragunov and Dijak. I have just absolutely loved this feud. And just throughout the entire feud, they've been beating the holy shit out of each other. And they did this again here. And man, it was something to see. It definitely ranks up there as one of the top 5 matches of the entire weekend, in my opinion. It was just a tremendous battle between these guys. Ilya Dragunov getting the win. And so it'll be interesting to see if maybe he gets elevated, whether it be the North American title or the NXT title. Both are held by babyfaces, which Dragunov is. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with Dragunov now. He just continues to have great matches. With like Gunther was the big example. That was named match of the year, and he just continues to have these great matches after great matches. And the one with Dijak, no exception. Tag titles on the line next. Gallus against the Creeds. A little shorter match, only about 10 minutes. Gallus retaining thanks to Ava from Gacy's group there, attacking Ivy Nile, causing the distraction, which led to Gallus retaining. So it looks like we may be seeing Avery Rain's second ever NXT match here, probably coming up against Ivy Nile, as the young daughter of The Rock is continuing to learn the business and whatnot. I think she's doing pretty good with the whole group with Joe Gacy's. And so I'm with the attack on Ivy Nile, I think it means they're probably pretty confident that they're ready to see her in a second match. So it'll be exciting to see how she fares there. Another great match came from the women's tournament final with the vacated title. Of course, Indy Hartwell vacated the NXT Women's Championship due to injury. And then, of course, she was drafted to Raw as well. The main event between Lyra Valkyria and Tiffany Stratton was a hell of a match. I was very impressed with both women. I think it was definitely both women's best match ever in their young NXT careers. Tiffany Stratton has that whole package. Great in-wing work. Her finisher, that prettiest moonsault, man, hitting all three ropes before going off the top is a tremendous finishing move. She's got the personality and everything about her, and so I'm pretty happy that Tiffany Stratton is champion. Well deserved, but Lyra Valkyria definitely put up a great fight. This was a very entertaining match. Went about 16 minutes. I thought I was very impressed with both women in that match. And then your main event for the NXT Championship, Braun Breaker coming out in some weird looking wolf dog mask thing. I don't know. Trick Williams doing a great introduction to Carmelo Hayes, as he always does. And they mentioned, of course, the sports teams in the city of Boston and all their championships. Of course, Carmelo Hayes is from there. The PLA took place from Lowell, Massachusetts, a frequent stop for ECW, ROH, and the like. And NXT's been there as well. So that kicked off our main event. I thought it was a good match, especially now that Braun is completely heel. I like Braun a lot more as a heel now than a babyface. I think the babyface thing was getting very tired, just wasn't going anywhere. I think as a heel, I think Braun Breaker could do some better work. And I thought this match was pretty good with Carmelo Hayes, but Carmelo coming out on top in his hometown, getting the win, retaining the title. And overall, a very impressive NXT Battleground, but again, I just don't know why they decided to go head-to-head with AEW. Though when you look at like Twitter, NXT Battleground was trending second all night right behind AEW. So it wasn't like they were really struggling in terms of social media presence on Twitter. It's for wrestling fans like me, and like probably many of you that are listening and watching at home that love all the companies. And that's the hard part, is the fact that you had to watch both at the same time, or you had to try to ignore spoilers for one and watch it later. And I watched them both at the same time last night, and then I went back and rewatched Dijak and Dragunov, and also rewatched the women's title match as well. But hey, it is what it is. We got through it. Had a lot of fun doing so. With that said, the final PLE the final pay-per-view of the big long weekend was, of course, AEW Double or Nothing from Las Vegas. This was a very weird pay-per-view because it seemed to, I don't know. The first half just did not seem like it was great to me. It didn't seem like it was an AEW pay-per-view. I thought the Battle Royal was good. I love the ending. The ending of just this, slow kick knocking Swerve off at the final. I love that ending. I thought Swerve and Orange Cassidy basically having a little bit of a one-on-one match inside of a Battle Royal to close out that opening match, I thought was a tremendous one-on-one. Makes you want to see those two go at it in a regular match at some point. I thought Dustin Rhodes did good. He lasted a while. Actually, Final 5. So when he got eliminated, he was down to the Final 4. No surprises in this match. A lot of big names, because there wasn't. It's kind of weird that there was some of these big names didn't have a match on the pay-per-view, like Jay White, Ricky Starks, to name a couple. But hey, it's a big company. Sometimes you can't always have everybody on all at once. That's why it's great to have these battle royals, to get as many people onto the show as possible. The Final 4 was Orange Cassidy, Swerve, Big Bill, and Penta. And then, as I said, it came down to Orange Cassidy and Swerve with that funny slow motion kick to knock Swerve off. As Orange Cassidy continues his just insane run of AEW International title defenses. Next up was the unsanctioned match between Chris Jericho and Adam Cole, and I don't know what it was about this match, but it just didn't kick into a gear. Sabu was used early, and then he got fought to the back with the JES guys. We didn't see him again. I liked Britt Baker coming out with the kendo stick and beating the shit out of Jericho, but the match just didn't ever kick into a gear for me. And then the finish kind of fell flat, where Cole's raining out hammer fists with the chain, and Aubrey Edwards just calls for the bell, which is kind of weird. It's an unsanctioned match. Why is the referee calling for the bell? I don't know. But with that said, it was good. It just wasn't great. It didn't kick into that AEW pay-per-view gear like a lot of the matches do. And I think Adam Cole now sets the sights on MJF, which is going to be a tremendous feud. I would love to see Adam Cole knock MJF off there, but a lot of people seem to believe MJF's going to hold that belt all the way into next year. It's possible, but I would still love to see Adam Cole take it off of MJF. We'll see what happens there. But and I think Matt called it here last week that expected MJF to feud with Adam Cole going forward here. It was no surprise that Adam Cole got the win out of here. And like I said, him and Jericho, it was good. It was a good match. It was decent. It just didn't get into that gear that we come to expect with an AEW pay-per-view. MK in the chat here. Swerve, Jay White, or Roosh should dethrone Orange Cassidy. I agree with Jay White. I said that I expected Orange Cassidy to win, but if he didn't, I wanted Jay White to do it. But I agree with Swerve too. I love Swerve. Roosh, I don't know. They seem to, they almost seem to be using him more on the Ring of Honor now. And it's kind of weird how they're sparsing off that roster. I don't think they're really going to split things until Collision starts here next month. But Roosh would be, I don't think Roosh is going to dethrone him. I honestly think it's going to be Jay White eventually. Next up was the tag team championships. Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, FTR taking on Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, with Mark Briscoe as the special guest referee. This was a very lengthy match and very overbooked. Kind of funny how a couple of former TNA guys, and it's an overbooked mess, but it did so happen to be overbooked big time. But in the end, the good guys win after Mark Briscoe had enough of Jeff Jarrett, punched him in the face, and that led Jarrett into falling into the shatter machine to get the win after 20 minutes. This was good. You know, again, this was good. Like if it was a Dynamite, but this never really kicked into that oh my god gear. And it's probably because we're just getting tired of seeing Jarrett and Lethal in the title picture for the tag titles. They've lost how many of these recently, and I like Jeff Jarrett. I think he's been doing a hell of a job, but they've been just having these guys in that match just was kind of a groan. We could have built somebody else up onto that, but they didn't. That's all right. TNT ladder match, TNT Championship ladder match is up next. Wardlow taking on Christian Cage. I thought this was pretty good. I think the ending would have been better if that ladder would have stayed intact when Wardlow went flying into it trying to do a Shelton Benjamin like move. But Wardlow's a big guy, bigger than Shelton Benjamin was at the time, and so that ladder said no Moss and buckled. And then Wardlow tried to set up that same ladder, and the ref's like, "Go get another ladder." And so that kind of killed it a little bit. Arn Anderson biting the thumb of Luchasaurus, a little weird. Many screen caps of Arn Anderson sitting in the corner, blood all over his mouth. That was a little weird, I gotta say. I didn't know dinosaurs had thumbs either, but that's another story. So this was kind of a, this is kind of a weird thing. The ladders didn't quite cooperate. The weird thing with Arn Anderson, so it just kind of came off as a little okay. And then we had the AEW women's title. Jamie Hayter taking on Toni Storm. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful saying Jamie's not in good shape. So it was no surprise once we kind of heard that the Outcasts would just beat her up and then end in a quick 3-minute match after that. And now Toni Storm is your 2-time AEW women's champion. Hopefully Jamie Hayter can get healed up, and hopefully maybe regain the title at Wembley, or at least have that a title match in Wembley when they go there. But yeah, I didn't think Toni Storm was going to win this, but now hearing what I heard about the health of Jamie Hayter, it made sense. I kind of wish they would have put it on Ruby Soho, but is what it is. I like Toni Storm as well, and now she is a 2-time champion and winning the championship. No, without the interim title on it either. So, but she is officially a 2-time champion. So, congrats to Toni Storm. This is where the pay-per-view started to turn to the positive. But before we get to that, Antoine in the chat wouldn't mind Pac taking the title off of OC, Miro or Andrade taking the title off of Wardlow. Definitely would love to see Miro be a TNT champion. Pac, yeah, I haven't seen him in a while. Some people thought he might appear in the Battle Royale this last night, but that didn't happen. It would be, Pac's a hell of a talent. Him and OC have had some battles too. So you can't leave him out of there. Open challenge for the trios titles, and this time finally AEW does an open challenge where the challengers are not revealed ahead of time. Thank God. Though a few people in my timeline on Twitter predicted it easily that it would be the Acclaimed. Sure was. The highlight of Max Caster's raps calling Buddy Matthews a cuck for Dominic Mysterio. Oh boy, that lit the internet on fire. That was tremendous. Very good match with these guys. I love the House of Black, the rules, the lighting, all of that. And then you get the work between all 6 men. And this is where the pay-per-view started to elevate for me is during that 6-man tag. The work that was put in with Brody King and Malachi Black, and definitely Bowens looked very good in this match. Billy Gunn, for his age, is still doing it. Billy Gunn, for his age, taking a full speed crossbody from Brody King while sitting in a chair. Props to you, my brother. Holy hell. The kick that Malachi Black hit Billy Gunn on, the old black mass kick. That was a great ending to a great match as the House of Black retains. Next up, the TBS Championship, Jade Cargill, Taya Valkyrie. Jade coming out with some of her sorority sisters and doing a dance on the ramp. I thought that was pretty cool. Very Bianca Belair-esque, but with some of her lifelong friends. And to do that, that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. The match with Taya, I thought Taya was going to be the one to take it off of her. But this was a good match. I thought there was some great drama in it. Some great near falls. Taya hit Road to Valhalla and Jade kicked out barely. I mean, she didn't have much energy when she kicked out of it. But then when she hit Jaded, if there would have been a kick out at least of one Jaded, but I don't think anybody's ever kicked out of it yet, so they probably didn't want to put that on Taya. So then that kind of kept it from going up to the next tier of a great match. But Jade Cargill winning, but then the big surprise. Smart Mark Sterling opening his mouth saying they will challenge. There's nobody left. I'll challenge anyone at any time. And that's when we got the return of Chris Statlander to a thunderous invasion. That Vegas crowd was actually kind of crap for most of the night, though I think the product was a byproduct of that because it was not the greatest first half of a pay-per-view. But man, so good to see Chris Statlander back. Defeated Jade in less than a minute to become your second ever TBS champion. Jade held that belt. She was the first person to ever hold that belt, the only person to ever hold that belt. So now it's interesting to see someone else hold the TBS title now. A 60-0 though, Jade Cargill, hell of a run for a woman that is not been in the business for a long time, but yet has shown the moxie and the skill to basically have a Goldberg-like streak to start your career. So I think Jade's going to take some time off from what I've heard, and then kind of reset, and you never know. She might be going for the world title picture eventually, or getting a feud or two before she gets at that point. I don't know, but hell of a run. Now it's great to see, though, the TBS title on someone else. We can get some fresher feuds for that thing, and it's great to see Statlander just holding a title with all she's been through with injuries and everything. Then we got the final two matches of the evening. That's right, MK. Nyla did steal it. That wasn't an official title reign, though, so can't count that. The final two matches, though, were just absolutely insane. I think I'm going to give my match of the night in AEW to the Four Pillars over Anarchy in the Arena. I thought Anarchy in the Arena is good. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I thought just the way I think all four of these guys worked together so well and had a chip on their shoulders because they're the Four Pillars. This is for the title. But they didn't main event. They didn't close the show. So I think they had a chip on their shoulder to try to outperform the main event. And in my opinion, by a very narrow margin, I think the Four Pillars outperformed Anarchy in the Arena. Very close because both were great, what you expect AEW pay-per-view matches. Thankfully it started to ramp up leading into these two matches. If it would have been crap going into these two matches, it would have maybe taken some of the shine off of the Fatal 4-Way. But thankfully the pay-per-view was turning a corner. We're getting a lot more energy now. We're getting hyped for this Four Pillars match, and these guys just they definitely delivered. And props, congrats to Sammy Guevara and Ty Conchi. Sammy bringing out the cue cards during his entrance to announce that they are expecting a baby. So congrats to Sammy and Ty. Very cool to see them two going to welcome their first child in early next year. But yeah, the Four Pillars match was tremendous. The intros, especially with Sammy or with Darby Allin doing like a Tarantino-like kidnapping of a guy dressed as MJF with Elvis helping him, and then skateboarding in an Elvis costume, and then MJF rising from this throne with these women. Those are some pretty cool entrances. And then the four men, like I said, they wrestled like they had a chip on their shoulder. Went almost half an hour, and MJF wins with a headlock takeover. Pretty funny. Funny part was Darby Allin hit the coffin drop and then almost pinned MJF with a headlock takeover. And that near fall, that had me. I thought maybe Darby was going to win with a headlock takeover, but it was a hell of a match. It was my match of the night. Antoine in the chat, who takes the title off of MJF before January? Darby, Danielson, or Wardlow? I honestly think Darby got pinned. So I don't think Darby got pinned by I don't think it's gonna be a four pillar. I think it might be Adam Cole. I think Adam Cole might take it. It might surprise us and take it off of him at the next pay-per-view. Maybe MJF doesn't hold on to it until 2024. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I can see both ways of MJF holding it all the way through. Danielson, I don't know how much longer he's going to wrestle, so for him to take it off, it would be great to have at least one more world title run before he hangs it up. I mean, my heart would say Danielson. That's just kind of be where I'm at right now. MK in the chat heard on another podcast that the Four Pillars met Friday night at Las Vegas indie promotion and went over the match for 6 hours. They didn't leave till 2 a.m. That's cool. That's probably why we got what we saw, which in my opinion, match of the night. MK also earlier in the chat, last Dynamite of the year, Darby challenges MJF, puts his career on the line, gets a title shot. Darby dethrones MJF, kind of like what Antoine was saying to Askin. Yeah, I kind of wonder if they're playing that Punk thing with Max taking the title to WWE. As Matt had mentioned earlier on an earlier episode of Lost the Midcard, they've kind of toned down that bidding more in 2024. So I don't know, but they could very well replay that Punk story. You got Punk in the company, so you could give pointers and what to do too. So Anarchy in the arena, and boy, this was great. I did not have referee bleeding for the first person to bleed on my card. That was a 3 minutes in too. So, but man, this was just, I mean, it was insane as one can expect. You can't even put words into it. Everything from exploding super kicks to thumbtacks on like an atomic drop with your foot hitting the pile of thumbtacks. My God, it was insane. Claudio delivering a pile driver on Matt in the bed of a truck, battling all throughout the concourse. It was insane. And then, as we expected, Takeshita turning heel. Is he officially BCC or is he just a Don Callis guy? We don't know. But I was very happy to see Wheeler Yuta get the pin, pinning Kenny Omega after Yuta hit him with a screwdriver. Very cool to see Yuta get that pin in that high profile of a match. I was very happy to see that. But second best match of the night, in my opinion, but not by far. I think it was a 1A and 1B situation with your two main events, which saved what was the first half of a kind of a lackluster AEW pay, at least in terms of AEW, in my opinion, pretty lackluster up until maybe the 6-man tag. And then it started to turn that corner. With that said, let's look forward to this week, Monday Night Raw. Like I said, all we have is the Fatal 4-Way to determine the new women's tag team champions. I fully expect Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey to walk out as champs. If not, I'm going to be thoroughly surprised. We have not gotten in a Raw report yet, so we don't have anything there. And all we have for AEW is that tag match that was announced on the pay-per-view last night, the mixed tag match with Chris Jericho and Saraya against Adam Cole, Bay, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. So that's going to wrap it up. We'll give you a few minutes to go get a beverage or some food or something before Monday Night Raw starts. I am going to watch Monday Night Raw either later tonight or tomorrow during work because my boys, the Boston Celtics, have fought back from down 3-0 to force a Game 7 tonight. So I'll be watching Game 7. I will catch the Raw probably tomorrow while I work. Stanley in the chat wins the next AEW pay-per-view. Forbidden Door, which is I don't have the date set up right in my head, but it is going to be June 25th, so just less than a month, is going to be AEW New Japan Forbidden Door. That'll be the next pay-per-view. With that said, I'd like to thank everybody in the chat, everybody for commenting. I'd like to see you guys each and every week here. And if you're listening on the podcast, come on in every Monday live, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, before Monday Night Raw, the official preview show for Monday Night Raw. Once again, hopefully Matt Black feels better. He'll be back with us next week. If you haven't done so already, make sure to go to Believe in Pro Wrestling's YouTube channel. That is BLEAV. Make sure you subscribe. Give us a thumbs up on our videos. Helps us out. Gets us to reach even more people and have a great discussion about pro wrestling like we do each and every Monday here on Lost the Midcard. Hit that bell notification so you know every time we go live, myself and Matt or SP3 and Rick, or any special interviews that Rick may do, or any special preview shows as well that they do there. So lots of stuff on the Believe in Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. For that said, you follow me on the Twitter at JB Heskers. I like it. I'm not going to be live tweeting Raw. I'm going to be watching the Celtics game. I'm going to go get a pizza and hopefully enjoy the game. But I hope you guys had a great Memorial Day weekend. I hope you have a great week ahead and enjoy wrestling here. We'll catch you next week. And as always, Lost the Midcard is brought to you by Bet Online.